I want to announce some upcoming tour dates. I'll be coming to see you with the Return of the Rat Tour, October 12th in Wichita, Kansas at the Orpheum, October 13th, Omaha, Nebraska at the Holland Performing Arts Center, and October 14th, Denver, Colorado at the Paramount Theater. All tickets go on sale this Wednesday, August 10th at 10 a.m. local time with the pre-sale code RAT King. And then Friday, August 12th, they will be on sale generally with no pre-sale code. You can get all tickets through theovon.com/tour.
Good job, Rogan. Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
That was cool. So you're saying that someone was telling you to kill someone with coffee? Okay, so I got to know all these. You were talking about his name's John McPhee, some operators, and I got to know through a billionaire friend who loaned his plane to Clinton to fly his people out of I think North Korea, and so from that point on, he was surrounded by these guys, and one of them, this guy Mikey, which isn't his real name. I think he's actually named. They name them all after the archangels. So he was like Michael. Oh, Jesus, I do the world. And like they take on these.
There's nothing creepier than an assassin with a biblical name. An archangel.
Yeah. And well, and so we got to know each other because of our mutual friend. And I think what happened was he and a couple of other guys. They were placed on me as like for surveillance purposes. Find out what this Avery guy's about, maybe, or just keep an eye on him or whatever. And they told me right up front, like, be nice to your surveillance. Like, don't try to lose us or anything like that. Because I heard stories about how they're surveilling somebody in wherever, Bolivia, and suddenly some gang attacks their surveillance, and they step in, kick the shit out of the gang. And so I got to know these guys, and naturally, I'm a writer and filmmaker, and so I, of course, want to talk to them about stuff. And they immediately start volunteering. Oh, yeah, we can all these different ways with how we can operate, blah, blah, blah. Learn how to kill people without, and I was just making a list now of the 10 ways to kill someone without leaving a trace. I was like, oh. Just like when I told Clinton about this, he said, yeah, what up, I'd like to hear this. Everybody wants to hear this. And so one of the ones that I think is the best one is you inject someone with coffee, caffeine, like just inject coffee into their bloodstream, gives them a heart attack, and it's untraceable. Later on, they do an autopsy and discover caffeine in your system. That's it. That's it. It's just right into the blood. Coffee can kill you. Sometimes the simple way.
Like just right into the jugular with a syringe.
Yes. After extracting whatever information you need to get out of him. But how much coffee will kill you like that? I don't know. Is it the Turkish kind or is it Folgers?
Cuban espresso.
Yeah, right. But he was a medic, during the war, and he was a medic, and so he, was kind of identified as he knew how to kill somebody very easily because what will work.
Yeah.
Because you're a medic. And so I would hear every now and then, I'd kill some guy and some diplomat or something in the Philippines and hit him with my car, and I'd look in my rearview mirror and make a medical determination of, is the guy still alive, or I better put him in reverse and drive him over again a couple of times and then take off. And just doing that all the time. All the time. they're doing it.
Well, Jamie and I were just talking. They think they have a photo of the whack that insurance CEO.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, they think they have a photo of his face now.
Oh, they do, huh?
Well, I would think with
From
the
around
amount of
time,
cameras.
or they picked it up later.
I think there's cameras everywhere,
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's part of the problem with someone. I don't think this guy was a professional. I think this guy, if I had to guess, some guy got fucked over. Apparently, that company is really bad on denying claims.
Uh-huh.
34% denial rate.
It's
Something
normal's
like
like
that.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those guys.
I don't think anybody's gonna like be crying too hard over that guy.
Yeah, maybe his family, but that's fucking gross. It's gross, and especially healthcare insurance. Just fucking gross.
Well, actually, all insurance. I live in California, and all of a sudden, because I live adjacent to any kind of open space, like nobody will insure my house because of fires.
Right.
And so suddenly, it's like I have a house that's uninsurable, and it's not just me; it's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's chaos.
Yeah. I have a
Yes.
friend who's trying to sell a house in California, and it turned out it was $125,000 a year just to get fire insurance. Like what?
It's insane.
It's fucking nuts.
It's insane.
Yeah, but I was evacuated 3 times when I lived there. I used to live in Bell Canyon, and it was rough.
I've been really lucky. I'm almost afraid to say it, all right, because I've been living in the Hollywood Hills, and I've never any of the fire stuff never happened around me.
Yeah, it is just luck. Yeah.
I mean, the benefit of your place is you're at least in a helicopter accessible.
Well, that is
they're just going to dump all that fire retardant right on top of you.
I literally am kind of at the top of the hill on a bunch of rock.
Yeah.
All right, so if the whole fucking
that's
place turns into an inferno, I'm so fucked.
And I think
all
that place
right,
has probably been there a while.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
withstood all sorts of calamity.
Yeah, when I was filming Fear Factor, I talked to this guy who was a fire guy for the fire department. He said, it's just going to be a matter of time. There's going to be one day where a fire hits LA and the wind is the right way and we're not going to be able to stop it. It's just going to burn right through to the ocean. He goes, it's just a matter of time. We all know it. I was like, what the fuck? I go, the whole city? He goes, the whole city. He goes, when those big fires get going, there's not a damn thing. Like what happened in Malibu a few years back? Like those are, I always thought Malibu, those rich people.
Well, that was the closest. Yeah,
Maui.
that was like around '93. That actually happened while we were shooting Pulp Fiction.
Really?
Yeah, well, there was a big
Malibu
Malibu
fire,
fire. The big
yeah.
Malibu fire happened while we were shooting Pulp Fiction, and so we actually set up a TV on the set because Bruce Willis was going to maybe lose his house. And so he was like, actually, so we have the little TV area so we could, like, in between takes, we could watch what's going on with the fire. And they're like, and there was all these reports that, no, Bruce Willis and his family are on top of the house with their water hose. And I go, no, he's not. He's right here.
Well, the thing is, fires were normal. Like it used to be when I was young. I grew up in California, and so when I was young, fires would burn through Malibu constantly. But now they put all those houses in there where there never were houses, because the fire is a natural process. It kind of clears land, cleans the land, and it's normal actually. But when you put all that kindling in there, suddenly we end up with these like superstorms of fire, where everything's just going crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's overdevelopment, which is the cause of these insane kind of fires that we're getting.
This episode is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only. Yeah, but it's a cool place to live. I'm not going to stop people from developing in Malibu. You know, it's just too nice. You just take your chances, roll your dice.
Yeah. Well, but you roll your dice. You take your chances and you roll your dice no matter where you live.
Yeah, it's just fucked up when it happens. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
I drove home once. We were filming Fear Factory. We had to stop the set early because the fire was so bad. This was like 2003 or something like that, 4. And driving home, it took me 55 minutes on the 5 to get home, and the entire time the right side of the highway was on fire for 55 minutes. Everything like Lord of the Rings style.
So 3 different times you got evacuated from the house?
Yeah,
So,
3 different times.
And so what is like, okay, so you decide what you're going to take with you kind of
Yeah,
thing?
the last time was the last time. It was like, the last big fire in LA. And I came home from the Comedy Store at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And my wife and I are looking out the window, and the fire's like maybe 500 or 600 yards away, and it's coming over the hill. And we were looking at each other, and I said, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
before it gets
right
bad.
on.
Let's just get out of here now. So we grabbed the kids, got a laptop, took some clothes. I didn't even have underwear. They said, we can just buy stuff. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
You know, who cares?
If you have your life.
Yeah.
I'm always I don't want to say the stupid guy, but I'm the guy who for some reason always decides I'm going to stay. And like, I'm going to, and
Oh, you're that old guy.
I live near a fire department. There's a fire hydrant across from my
You're the guy
driveway.
on the roof when the flood is happening.
Yeah.
Get off my property.
Yeah, that's me. Like, my family went away, and I was like, well, they're going to close it out so we can't get back in. I'm just going to hang out here until like I know that it's, and at a certain point there was fire like cresting the ridge, and I'm kind of watching it. And I ran down to the fire department to see, like, hey guys, it's coming. I can see it from my house. And they're all there, like, hanging out, eating sandwiches, and, like, not even worried about it. They kind of looked over at it. It's okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah, they get a little too blasé about fire.
By the way, my Spec Ops friend, he's like, fuck those firemen, man. Fuck them. They get so much, like, credit for, like, nothing. They barely do anything. They're on these incredible pension plans. Like, he, like, hates firemen.
That's ridiculous. It is a great job, but you can't get mad at someone for having a great job. There's a buddy of mine that I used to play pool with.
Well, he has to actually hump it into another country and kill somebody. So,
the thing
he's
is,
got a real tough job.
He's not getting enough credit. That's what it is.
Yeah,
That's really what it comes
that's
from.
That's better way to say it.
Yeah, that's the reality of our world today. Those people don't get enough credit. But firemen, it is a great fucking job.
But I like the way he breaks it. Fucking
it's like they all have these huge pensions, and everybody thinks they're heroes. They're not heroes.
Well, it's funny because
They're just doing their job.
the firemen are very comfortable with fire. These people are very comfortable with people dying. Dying because of them. They just get real. They get blasé about murder.
It's not murder if it's sanctioned by your own country.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
What a cool loophole.
Yeah, isn't it?
I had a interesting thing. It's like when you live in the Hollywood Hills, you're paying actually you pretty decent property taxes. So you get there's a little vig that comes with it. You get there's a reason why you don't have to wait 2 hours during when you're during election. You just go to the local elementary school. You're in and out in 5 minutes. All right, when it comes to election day. But also, there's one of those stupid things that you do that like what was a fucking idiot where you turn on the burner and then you like leave the room for a while. All right, and then you come back and all of a sudden your kitchen is flaming. And so
Has that happened to you?
that happened to me once. And so the alarm goes off, and I hit the button, let the fire department know, and then I put it out. I put it out like pretty much immediately. And then maybe 5 minutes later, it could have been 3. 5 minutes later, the fire truck is at my door. So I didn't even have time to say, "Hey, it's it's okay now. It's okay." And so there's an entire fire truck at my door, and I left them and I go, "Guys, I'm really sorry. I was really stupid. I left the room and with the pot on the stove and whatever. And anyway, and so I'm really sorry I wasted your time. I'm really, really sorry I wasted your time." Having said that, it's nice to see that you guys are here this quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were like, "Oh, we'll just get
And
a
they were like-
selfie."
And they were like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Your property taxes pay for something. Are you sure you don't want us to come in and just make sure? I go, yeah, go ahead.
The problem is sometimes you have to chop through the walls to make sure that there's not fire and embers inside. Yeah.
Spray it all down. Get
It's a hard fucking job when
Get
it's a hard
everything.
job, though. The thing is, most of the time, they're just chilling. You know, they get to cook, they eat, they work out.
Oh, I take ice cream down to our guys at I'll go out and buy a bunch of ice cream or some pizzas and take it down just on random days, just to.
Well, actually, it was
make
funny.
them happy. That's cool.
Well, it was.
I'm okay with the fire guys.
Well, it was actually funny because it was like one of the things that was a crack up was like the local fire department worked at Video Archives or a video store. The local fire department was a customer, and so they'd rent different movies, but like it was almost out of 5 movies that they would rent, 4 pornos.
Yeah. No, they lived up to their
just literally
career.
Did you guys work together?
Yeah.
No shit. That's how you guys met?
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Wow.
Video Archives in Manhattan Beach.
How fucking cool
Yes,
is that?
that's from like 84. Yeah.
Yeah.
84 for about 5
Wow.
years.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit before 84.
Well, I started officially at 84 because
But you
I
were a
remember.
customer before.
Well, I was a customer.
Yeah.
I was a customer.
I predated Quentin as one of the employees, so I was there.
Look at you guys.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's us.
That's crazy.
Very unfortunate shirt on my part.
There was a lot of unfortunate shirts in the 80s.
Yeah.
Everybody was confused. They cut the drugs off in the 70s. No one knew what to do for 10 years.
That's exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you would have never thought back then that industry would completely vanish. You thought Blockbuster Video was going to be around forever.
Well, one of the things that
Right? I didn't think film was going to vanish either.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't think the theater experience was going to go away either.
But one of the things, though, that was the death keel to video stores that no one ever when they were talking mom and pop, when they're talking old people, to like, hey, you've retired from your business, you've got a nice little nest egg. If you want to invest in a nice little business where you get to work with your neighborhood and be in a nice little store with your family, video stores, that's a good business. So I don't know anything about you. Well, you have people who help you, help you choose the titles. So there was a lot of people that invested in this stuff, and it seemed like a good idea. The reason that it seemed like a profitable idea was the idea I sell you this video cassette, and you pay for the video cassette, but the minute you rent it past the point that where you paid for the video cassette yourself, then everything else is you. All that other money that you make from here on in is just all profit once you pay for the actual cassette. And of course, you'll have some cassettes that don't rent as well, but but that's the way it works out. But it should work out great. Well, again, that sounds like a pretty good business model. Well, if I spend this money, and then 5 years from now, everything is profit. Where it all fell apart is the idea that you always have to get new shit. Because life, it's not a bookstore. Well, bookstores need to get new stuff too, but it's not a library. Life doesn't stand still. Every month there's new titles coming out, and you have to be competitive, and you have to get the new titles. And so, even if that were the issue, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you're a mom and pop store, you only have so much room.
Yeah.
So
it's a space. It's literally a space, shelf space.
Within 3 to 4 years, you're bursting out of the seams of videos. You're just bursting out. You've got no more room. You've got no more room. And so now all of a sudden, rather than having your tapes facing out, now everything is sideways,
Yeah, spine facing.
and you've got to really and it just never stops. It never stops. The next month you got to get this. The next month you got to get that. The next month you got to get that.
You need a Costco size building.
Yeah. Well, again, if you have 4 different video stores, or if you have a chain, you can move things around and it's easier. But when you're a mom and pop, that's just it. You know, mom and pop store, and you have a bike store. You don't have to keep getting new bikes every month. If you have a pottery store, you don't have to keep getting new
Regardless of your
every
inventory.
single month. Yeah.
You constantly have to grow your inventory.
Every
Constantly-
6 months, you get something cool. You don't need to get it
Right.
every month. And you're defined by you having the new shit.
And then there was another problem when companies that were massively funded, like Blockbuster, came onto the scene. They would go in and they would kind of do this sort of gray market purchasing, where they would buy 50 diehards, and a mom and pop store can't afford to buy more than 1 or 2 diehards, or 3 maybe, to satisfy your
When it comes to a big
clientele.
title, the thing is, you spend the money. Like, okay, one of our big titles when we in the early days of video was Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun, perfect.
So you get you'll get even the mom and pop stores. You'll get 12 or 15
because everyone wants to see it, and at some point it's going to gotta satisfy your.
Well, you'll rent all 15 of those for the next 2 weeks. For $10 a piece. Once the desire has died
It
down.
largely fell on us because we were a smaller store and we had a Blockbuster just a block away, basically.
Not even a block. We're talking about in the same fucking.
Yeah, basically, in the,
Not a block away. It was in the
on the block.
in the shopping center that we were in.
And yeah, and
Well,
so-
you're missing the most interesting thing. It's not about the bulk buy. The bulk buy that's what it is. But that's every mom and pop store has to deal with that, dealing with a franchise.
Well,
what
it changes your strategy.
Yeah, but what they were famous for doing this, and but particularly they were strategic about it. Is like, okay, we're going to go into this town. Okay, we're going in Manhattan Beach. What's the biggest video store? What's the most popular local video store in Manhattan Beach? Well, that would be Video Archives. They're right on Sepulveda. They're right across the street from the Warehouse. All right, which is one of the big
before Blockbuster.
Before Blockbuster, it was Warehouse Records and Tapes, and they still managed to survive across the street from Warehouse. And then, what does Blockbuster do? They buy the Shakey's Pizza that is in our shopping center. And they moved into the Shakey's Pizza. Because it's like, well, the Warehouse and with these Video Archives guys, well, this is obviously the place to be. So they just bought out the Shakey's Pizza and opened up, and they still couldn't shut us down.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure they had the attitude of, well, just brush them aside.
Oh, of course that's how they
And so consequently, because you can only get 3 or 12 Top Guns, whatever it is, it's not as many as Blockbuster is getting. You end up having to focus on, like, how am I going to convince my clientele to watch something other than Top Gun this weekend? And so landed on us to basically say, oh, you can't get Top Gun. Well, how about this movie?
Well, but
that you haven't seen?
But it's the difference between being a cool coffee place and being Starbucks,
Right.
or a franchise bar and a cool little Joe's Bar, all right, and the bartender knows you,
Right.
So it's like, look, if you just absolutely positively need Top Gun that weekend, then go across the street to the Warehouse and get it. All right, we have what we have, but we had customers that came in every fucking day, and part of their day or every other day, when their tanks were due, and they were people of the neighborhood, and they came in, and not only did they rent stuff, they dropped stuff off, and then they rented new stuff out, but they came in to talk to us for 20 minutes or 45 minutes, every other day.
And there's no algorithm to tell them what to do. We're the algorithm.
Yeah.
You have to know, oh, this guy, they're on a date night, so they're going to want this kind of rom-com type movie, or this guy, he really likes, Vietnamese hooker porn tapes. I got to make sure to find something like that for him. And those kids, they're going to want, some skate stuff. So I've got to learn all about the Bones Brigade videos and stuff like that. And so, you just kind of figured out, like, how can I upsell the stuff that they haven't heard of? Because invariably, anybody who comes in,
But you're making it just sound a little bit more cynical than it was. You are making it sound more cynical.
more like the challenge.
You guys are like a married couple.
Yeah, but it's not
totally we're like a married couple.
It wasn't that
Without the
cynical.
benefits.
Tell them the whole story, honey. Just tell them the whole story.
We were hanging out, and they're coming and hanging out too.
I'd pop the movie on and be watching scenes from it and be talking about the scenes. Then a customer would come in, or many customers would come in, and they'd just become part of the conversation. And we would have a chat room.
There was about 15 customers that talked to 5 hours a week, every week for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because they come in and would spend at least 40 minutes every other day. And I expected to see that. And I watched what I watched on TV. I saw what I saw at the movies, and then they saw what they saw in the movies. They watched what they watched on TV. We all talked about it. And they talked about the videos and what else we're going to get, and
And if you like that, you're going to like this.
About our lives and everything. Yeah.
So at what point in time, while this is all going on, do you guys decide we need to make our own fucking movies?
Well, it was always the case.
Well, we were always thinking. Well, Roger and Roger had another friend that he was a guy that connected me and Roger together. It was a guy named Scott who took his own life at a certain point.
His father owned another video store that I worked at as well, and that Quentin used to come into.
But the thing is, though, that while I was just thinking about making movies, Roger and Scott were making movies on Super 8.
Yeah.
And they were making little horror films and little zombie movies on Super 8, and they're
supernatural thrillers.
And they're the word terms is a zombie movie.
It's kind of a zombie movie, more of an afterlife.
Okay, maybe. But you're making legit horror films. I'm just thinking about this stuff, and these guys are Sam Raimiing it, like Sam Raimi. They're making their shit in their backyard and working on it for 3 months and stuff.
Yeah, and I was friends with all the punk guys because it was LA punk. And so they were always in my movies. All the punks were in my movies because they were media literate. They loved movies. And so they were easy to pull in and to be in the film. So they were always playing the gang of punks who beat somebody up or something.
So it must have been cool working at a video store, though, because it's essentially it's like an education.
Well, when the time came where we actually wanted to be making movies, where we were talking about making movies, because I can remember when I think it was around the time of Sex, Lies, and Videotape, or maybe She's Gotta Have It.
No, definitely Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
But I remember you coming to me and saying, the moment is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. A small movie is possible to get made. It's happening for us, for guys our age.
Yeah, I mean, the one, it was the Sex, Lies, and Videotape was sort of like the Seattle band that broke. All right. But I was already looking at Blood Simple. Was my in.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Was my in. All right. Where okay. It's an artistic movie. It's arty. It's funny. It can play the art houses. It can play the art house circuit. But there's a genre base to it.
Yeah.
There's a genre base. It's it's a thriller. It's a film noir-y kind of thriller done in a certain kind of way, but it's a genre base. Yeah, I go, that's the way you do an art film. You do it, you make it a genre-based art film.
If you keep one foot in
because it's entertaining.
Yeah, if you keep one foot in exploitation in some way in genre, if you keep your foundation in genre, then you can do whatever you want. My favorite filmmaker is Stanley Kubrick. I love Kubrick movies. Okay, one can pretty much look at all of his films and say each and every one is a genre film. He's got a science fiction movie, he's got a horror movie. Even Barry Lyndon as a costume drama at the time.
It's a costume genre. It's a genre.
That was a solid, bankable genre.
The book is definitely a pulpy genre.
Well, the book was serialized, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was Thackeray wrote them in in episodes. It was like a soap opera.
But that was a very popular book at that time.
Yeah, and so and I knew this making my first film, and I know Quentin, you were talking about it. This was the conversation we were actively having of, we have to make sure that we make a movie people want to see, like a genre film, and I was calling them exploitation movies at the time. Like, I'm going to keep one foot in exploitation. And then, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I kind of also want to make like, I want to elevate it as much as possible. And so when the time came for me to make my first film, Killing Zoe, it was like I knew it was going to be a bank robbery because I wrote it around a location. We found this while they were scouting for Reservoir Dogs. Lawrence Bender, or maybe you also had scouted that location.
Yeah.
Found this bank location, and Lawrence called me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm calling all the writers I know. I found this bank location, and if you have a script that takes place in a bank, we can kick together $200,000 and make a movie there. It's like this complete, solid, amazing location." And I said, "Oh my God, Lawrence, this is your lucky day. I happen to have a script that takes place in a bank." And then I just quickly wrote one based on the location. And as I was writing it, I was thinking, okay, I know that it's going to be a bank robbery. It's a bank. And so I know it's going to be a bank robbery. And that's my solid bankable genre that I'm going to stick with. But I knew I wanted to do something more with it. And I had just traveled through Europe and I'd been telling Quentin the stories of traveling through Europe. He's like, "Oh, you should do a movie called Roger Takes a Trip." And
I still think it should have been called.
I think it's a different movie. I don't think it's a.
No, you kind of made Roger Takes a Trip. Just added bank robbers in it. But it's still Roger Takes a Trip.
I had been in Paris. I had bumped into a guy that I knew from Los Angeles who was a French guy. And he was like, "Oh, I'll show you the real Paris." And I went out with he and his friends, Henri, Jean, Claude, all the characters from the movie. I went out with him and his friends, and we, he drove me through Paris, and next thing I know, he's doing heroin, and I'm like, and it started
with you?
No, not with me. I
now we do heroin.
Yeah, it was like, now we do heroin. Hold the arm. I did hold his arm, and like I had
For
never.
real?
Yeah, I had never seen anything like that.
Like he tied his arm off. He's like, "Hold my arm."
No.
Hold my arm.
He
Hold
was the tying off.
Yeah,
Roger was the tying
Roger,
off.
hold my arm while I shoot up.
Jeez.
So,
But he doesn't quite know that this is all going to happen. That everything else has been a preamble to this.
yeah, suddenly that happens, and then
He just needed a heroin partner.
yeah, his friends are like, "Oh, drink it in the nose doesn't even affect me anymore." Things like that. And I'm like writing these lines down, like, this is great shit. And so I get back and I told Quentin like about this whole story about these guys and going, driving around the Champs-Elysees and this is where the fags sell themselves. Oh, now we go into the nightclub down below and we do more heroin. I'm like, what about the cops? Aren't the police going to say anything? It's safer here than and you're like, you can do heroin anywhere in Paris. And it was like, I worked at Le Mans. Like all of it was like basically everything in that movie was stuff that I'd actually seen. And so when the time came to make it as a bank robbery film, I just, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, it's a bank robbery movie, but it's going to be about these guys. And it just became a movie about a guy going someplace and everything that he thought he knew is wrong. Like you think, you haven't seen your friend in a while and you go see him. Okay. It's all about that kind of friendship and misconception. He's downstairs in the bank. Johnny Grunwald, the bad guy, is upstairs. The chaos is going on upstairs. He has no idea what's going on upstairs. And so this kind of just became what the movie was about. And so I just quickly wrote the script. And then, we ended up not even using that location to shoot the movie. But it was...
The seed was planted.
The seed was planted. And so the idea was, okay, I'm going to make a French film out of it. Because I'm like in LA, I'm making a film. What can I do that would be different? Like that would make this more than just a bank robbery movie. And because of the experience I had just had, I was like, well, I'm going to make a French film. Okay, I had no business making a French movie. I didn't even really speak French. I just thought it would be kind of cool. I like, a cool French girl and like greasy, dirty French guys, French criminals. And I always loved, Alain Delon and Le Samurai, the way he wears a suit and the way he carries a gun and the way he walks around. And I just just adored all of that. And so it was like, well, let's put all of that kind of space that's in my brain into the movie. And then movies tend to take on a life of their own. They tend to be like children. It starts off as a concept, as a conception, has a conception, and then has an infancy, and then you're raising that child to become the movie. And along the way, you're really just kind of protecting it and trying to allow it to grow into what it's going to grow into without forcing it to become something that it's not. And it's a little bit of a balance. You have to be a good parent, which means you have to give it a little bit of freedom to grow into something that you don't know what it's going to be. But at the same time, you have to be willing to, be strong with it as well. So,
That's a very underappreciated movie. It's a fucking great
I
movie.
think I'm really good at making underappreciated movies. I think I built a career on
those are the-
underappreciated movies.
Those are the classics that you would look for in a video store.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd look for the movies that were really good that no one knew about.
Dog Day Afternoon's not in, but we can get you Killing Zone.
Right.
My favorite moment in the movie. Well, I like it when the guy gets burned alive. All right, the hamburger scene.
But that
all
was-
right,
Yeah.
But I remember they were trying to talk you to cut out, and they go, "No, you can't cut that out. I'm taking my name off."
Yeah.
Uh,
No, Quentin did that. Actually, Quentin was a great gorilla to have on my side
Yeah.
at that time.
But
Why would they tell you to cut that out?
well, they're like, well, I don't know.
Everyone
it's
is
too
afraid.
rough, Is it too rough? It's too
Everyone's afraid. Everyone
If you
operates
take
out of
that out,
fear.
I'm taking my name off.
The only people that don't operate out of fear, I think, is the director and the actors. Those are the ones who, if everything's working right, you're fearless.
It's always executives that
But
fuck
it's the
everything up.
But it's the scene that my favorite scene is the scene with Hugh Anglon when he walks into the close-up,
Oh yeah.
and he's just like, "Wait a minute!" He's like remembering what he heard, and and he realizes.
Okay, so that's a good example of because the movie was shot for.
Explain the scene better.
The scene was shot for. I mean, the movie,
explain the scene better.
I will.
Explain-
The movie
explain
was
why.
shot for very little. We had no money to make it, so I had to shoot the entire upstairs first and then the downstairs, because it's like doing a company move. But I knew that when writing, and this is sort of a kind of a rule that we had was, one, make a genre movie. Two,
Explain the scene.
I'm going to.
I said explain the scene. Don't
Okay.
tell me what you
The
felt
scene-
about at that moment.
the
You
scene
missed
actually-
the exit.
The scene was a replacement for another scene that was in the movie that was too expensive to shoot. That's the short of it.
What does that have to do with what I like?
What I replaced it with was, and I had to fight for it, was a single shot. Because originally he goes downstairs and he sees a bunch of guys coming in through the sewer. So he starts machine gunning people in the sewer. Because there was like a little sewer manhole in the bottom of the bank. I was like, well, let's use that. And so I had this whole thing. And the Bond company showed up, and you're behind schedule, and you've got to you've got to cut pages, and I couldn't cut anything, and I'm shooting upstairs, downstairs stuff, and so it's like I had to have something because he leaves the scene and then comes back angry, and so I knew I needed to have something, and originally I had this whole scene where the cops are coming in, and he reacts to that, and so I said, well, okay, I just need one shot, and because it's all I had time to do because it's a fucking Bond company. And so I set up, which were actually really cool to me. They were actually, Film Finance was just great. I just set up a single camera. I asked for a kind of a Kubrickian lens, a nice wide, like maybe a 14 millimeter lens. And I just had John Hughes walk up into a close-up, and I just had him I said, just walk into a close-up and start looking around and just start seeing things coming out of the walls.
Well,
And
no.
is that the shot you're talking about? And he does like a little magic trick beforehand, like.
No.
That's not the one you're talking about.
No.
That's the great shot. That's a great shot.
No, the scene I'm talking about but that's why I wanted you to explain it because I